Sit, talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover state of fear. Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear? Yeah, it's Fear. It might look like an episode of Flyover State of Film, but it's actually Fear, and we're back for a special episode to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer because of the unfortunate passing of Paul Reubens. Rest in peace. But even though there's some sadness, there is some excitement. How are my Flybois doing? We have TJ, Yusuf, and Brian, my normal Fear co-host, with us. What's up, guys? It's been
You're boring, co-host.
Brian, yesterday's news hearse.
Boring ass co-host.
Bringing in the flavor now.
Silver medal hearse, they call me.
He dragged me out of retirement because he couldn't fucking stand you anymore, Brian.
The ratings have been like, our views have bottomed out.
You guys can't do this without the wild card. You know that.
Where is that fucking guy that can barely speak English? That's the soul of the podcast.
TJ's still running with the wild card thing, but the wild card thing is more of just like, let me make sure all my technology doesn't work.
And I'm an alpha. Okay.
Kind of an alpha. TJ actually left.
Also, it's still 2015.
So. TJ left Flyover Film, that everyone knows, to sell mushroom supplements and follow some really cool other podcasters and type.
I love it. I love it.
He's been doing sauna and cold plunges every day.
You guys know that there are tigers out there that could murder people. I'm talking about rip them apart.
That's my it's like spiteful?
Could be.
That sounds pretty horrific. You know, it's horrific.
Jamie pulled it up. Jamie pulled it up.
But no, how have you guys been? I feel like it's been forever since the four of us have truly been on a call together.
It's been what since recorded since February or March? When was the last one?
About February, I think.
February, I'd say.
And Yusuf double tapped the show in the back of the head like John Wick. Left it laying.
Fucking took old Yeller out back and just capped that bitch.
But the group chat is never been more alive. The X can't ruin it.
That's right. I still have Bird app. I want everybody to know as of this recording, I still have the Bird on my phone. Everything still says Twitter. I have not done an update.
I'm so proud of you.
Feeling good.
That's a flex. Tell the cashier when you check out.
I will. I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for my groceries. By the way, it's still blue.
I still got Bird.
No, but since this is like Fear, I'll just go around. I'll start with Yusuf. Have you watched anything like recently that you'd like to, call attention to of like horror shit?
Yeah, I was. This one is just so I can say that I was in Colorado and I saw The Shining. But the one that I actually saw recently and I tweeted about it is like Werewolves Within.
Oh, love that movie.
So good.
It's a fun movie. It's like very predictable movie, but it's not about the story or the plot. It's about the characters, and it's just a lot of fun with the characters. And
it's like based on a party game, right? So it's all about just like people doing. It's like a good companion piece to the murder episode of The Office, right? You just kind of watch those together.
It's one of those movies too that like makes me think like Sam Richardson should be and is poised for like Paul Rudd's career like path.
Yeah.
Because they're just that fucking enjoyable every time they're on screen.
And he's a big dude, so he could pack in muscle. So if he gets a comic book role Paul Rudd, he could just do the Kumail Nanjiani route.
But I was
already disappointed with how thin he had gotten in the new season. I think he should leave. Yeah. I like him a little more bulky. I like him a little bulky.
Oh, I just
looking for the thing.
Even earlier than Werewolves Within, he pops up as like
TJ. We should not gloss over that. he would be incredible as the Thing. That's a
great
fantastic casting.
Thank you.
I don't know, but the casting so far doesn't look like it's leaning towards that route. It's looking like it's going to be
Tim
more
Robinson
serious.
is Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Tim Robinson is.
I don't know what's going on.
He's already got a rubber face, man. They just put him out.
It's fucking raccoon eyes.
That's great.
Errol Flynn is a fucking awesome pull. And then same with the lead, the AT&T girl. She's the best.
I got the biggest crush on the AT&T.
Who doesn't?
I never realized how adorable she was until Werewolves Within, and every time I see her on the AT&T commercials, I'm like, oh, there she is.
Like, be in more movies.
Yeah, be in more movies. You're not quite Flo. You need to move on.
I was gonna say all I'm thinking of is Flo. That's all I can see right now.
Flo is a Groundlings person though. That's how she's held on to that career.
She's in the Goldbergs for a while.
She was one of the.
I have nothing but respect
friends.
for Flo. Nothing but respect for Flo. And for the guy that's Chaos and the voice of Progressive.
Well, Chaos is actually an actor who was all on Oz and then also in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
And Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I know. He's the Vulture, and he's also in 30 Rock as Liz Lemons.
His name's Dean Winter. Yeah. He's also in Sarah Connor Chronicles. He's in the first John Wick.
Yeah, but I'm saying, when you find that fucking niche, you just...
more praise to our glorified mascots.
Stay in line.
TJ.
Never forget that Nick Kroll was one of the guys.
Do you have a poll for? No, I wasn't yelling at you. I was trying to transition. Do you have a movie poll for us?
Movie, not so much. Not too long ago, I saw that Nefarious film that came out.
You're watching a TV show right now. I think that
does it count? Does it count as a?
Oh yeah, this is just genre. We could talk about anything.
Twisted Metal, baby. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Twisted Metal is
Stop hitting your mic, man.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to...
We hate that noise, man.
My dog's trying to eat my shoes right now. I'm fighting. It's like one of those shows. Like, I want to say no, it's not good, but it actually is good. It's like one of those things to where it's so cheesy and so over the top, and they knew exactly what they were doing. And Anthony Mackie, I couldn't put it probably any better. Deserves an Emmy. Do they get Emmys for these type of things?
Yeah, I think so. Genuinely a very good show. I was surprised too. Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious that someone had a solid script for a post-apocalypse show, and then when the Twisted Metal thing came around, they were like, "But it's grafted on well. It doesn't feel out of place."
Yeah,
and stuff.
I gotta watch it. I was thinking
it's good. It's worth, and it's a brisk. It's 10 episodes, half hour, so it's a breezy watch.
I'm thinking that's
it's Samoa Joe, right? The clown.
Samoa Joe's the clown. Will Arnett's the voice, but the performance is both of them for sure. He's doing a lot physically.
But there's side characters.
Not the voice.
No, yeah.
No, I wish
it was there's a side character named Stu.
He's from the Doughboys podcast. You know him from some other stuff too.
He's so good in it because he plays the what is going on around here type of character in the
and film. Samoa Joe does his voice, and then they just keep cascading.
Right. Anthony Mackie does the girl from Brooklyn Nine-Nine's voice.
Okay. That's so
creative. Church does Anthony Mackie's voice.
Everybody's so creative.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas shows up in it, and then I just found out. Well, I'm not going to.
Andy Samberg does his voice. No, I'm gonna. I think that's gonna be my show to put on when I start my work day tomorrow. I'm just breeze it through. Brian, you always got a good poll for us. You gotta watch anything?
I actually finally broke down and just watched a movie that's 2 years old now. I've been waiting around for it to come to a service, and I finally broke down and paid $4 to rent it. And that was A24's Lamb with New
How
York
was
Fitz.
it? I saw you saying now watching, and I don't think I asked you because you were having an alien adjacent day where you watched.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we can talk about the fact that I just randomly watched Prometheus and Alien Covenant again because I was.
And then Lamb, and then no.
But then Lamb was in that.
So how was Lamb?
I watched 4 movies in one day, and actually 5, which is kind of a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of movies.
It's a lot. About 10 hours, right?
Yeah, I just kicked back and watched a lot of movies.
How was Lamb though?
I enjoyed Lamb a lot, actually. I thought it was really good. I really like Noomi Rapace.
It's in Norwegian?
I mean, she's beautiful.
Yes.
She's a beautiful actress.
I'm saying the movie is...
The movie also, yeah. It's
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Is it true, but I'll ask the question.
Folk horror, it's
got
a folk horror element
Please ask
to
the question.
I thought it was on Canopy.
No, it's not that question. I'll ask the question,
no, it's not on Canopy.
I'll ask the question that the reason why I haven't watched it is like I've heard that it's just like a very one note, just just one note for an hour and a half of look at the lamb.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I
It's
think
so
there's
weird.
genuine. I thought
See
there
the
was a lot of
lamb?
genuine character tension. There's like, I mean, there's obviously stuff at play with
Does she
Numi
breastfeed
Rapace's
the lamb?
character and
Oh,
like
yeah.
parenting her husband, and then his brother comes to stay with them and like has that genuine reaction of like, why are you guys living with a lamb here? Like, what's happening here? So like you get. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people didn't like it. I don't know.
That
I thought it
movie
was
kind of
pretty good.
falls on the same level as, was it Man?
Men.
Was it one-
I
Men?
thought it was better
Men,
than Men.
yeah.
I liked
Okay.
it more
Better than Man?
Yeah.
So speaking
I
of
You
thought
that,
like that a
Men.
lot, Yusuf.
I thought men's. I don't know.
That's
Alex
really
Garland.
div-
Alex
that's
Garland,
really div-
like he likes to make his shit weird. I get it.
that's
I
a really
maybe
divisive
it
movie.
stretched a little far. Like maybe could have used a little focus.
Speaking
But
of A24 stuff, this leads good into I just saw Talk to Me. Speaking of
Yeah,
their
in the
horror,
trailer
that
looks
might
good.
be on the docket for me this weekend. I'm not sure. That or the
really
Meg
good,
too.
really I think it was really good, really strong, knew its story, knew its audience, like scene stealing.
Australian horror movie.
Yeah, scene stealer, like the lead is a scene stealer, like she's phenomenal. My
I mean,
thing
she's
with
the
it is
lead. She's the lead. How
it's
is she stealing a scene, Joe? Come on.
her
See, this is why I left.
presence.
This is
All
why
right.
I left.
It has though, I'll say the A24 effect where its trailer is so much more and critical reaction is so much more hyped than the actual horror of the movie.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Look, I was expecting to be like legitimately terrified, like I was when I saw something like Hereditary. It's
So
very
is it
good.
like
It was
is it like
effective.
is it like the one with the in the cabin that they sold him like the most horrific movie with the guy from The Gift and Warrior and I'm blanking his name.
It comes at night.
It comes at night.
No. This was a lot more. This had a lot more going on. This
Okay.
actually. So the best way I could describe.
I like that movie, but I'm saying like they sold it like this super action packed.
Yeah. No, this one's scary. Like I think this.
They try to
was
sell
scary.
those really tense, slow burn horror movies as like, they always try to like hype them up in the wrong way.
Best way I could describe it, or like more of the feeling of Talk to Me, is it reminded me a lot of The Sixth Sense with like the violence of like modern exorcism movies.
Okay.
Like it's very graphic and
like
and
the
that,
Pope.
but-
Oh, I saw the Pope's Exorcist. If you want to talk about that, that's amazing.
Well, that was a fun time.
Fucking
I
love
didn't
that
see it.
movie. I
Russell-
legit love that movie.
It-
Like,
Okay,
I
how
had
does it
so much
rank
fun.
up against the one, The Right, with Anthony Hopkins?
Oh, I never seen
I
that either.
didn't like. I think it's better than The Right.
They're both just such
Is it
generic
better because it's
exorcism
sillier
movies.
though, or is it better
No,
because
it's actually
better?
better.
Alright.
Oh,
The
I thought
only silly things is hearing him talking Italian and
that's
him
why
writing
it's so silly.
Can I ask
Yeah,
one thing?
He
I
just carried that accent from the Thor movie, right? That's the same accent.
But then I saw a trailer. He's in that fucking Craven the Hunter movie, and he's doing the same accent.
It's not
I literally turned to the
supposed to be
person.
like
I think he just talks like that now.
I turned to the person I was watching with, and I went, "That's the Pope's Exorcist."
I was gonna ask you guys just get your guys' opinion because I haven't asked you. I feel like I'm gonna be the only one here. Do you guys have any interest in the new Exorcist movie?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm goofy.
I think it looks
the
okay.
trailer looked pretty by the numbers. The trailer didn't do a
I
lot.
like
for
those.
me,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm goofing on it, but like,
I saw a tweet that really made me laugh, and it's like 30 years from now, the guy from Get Out is gonna be in a trailer, and it's gonna cut to him. It's gonna be like, "I also got out." And it's gonna be like, "Got out too."
Old David,
Like,
you're like
it's
walking out of a doorway. He's like, I also
got out. Like it's
oh,
that's how I felt watching that trailer. I was like,
Yeah,
this
I was
is-
like, did you really have to get old Burston out?
yeah, why did
You're
you
out,
drag
dude.
her out?
I don't know. I mean, Ted, the Exorcist Ted Lasso is. I don't know. I'm gonna see it. I think it looks like fine. It's gonna be better than any fucking modern Exorcist sequel from 2000s.
Yeah.
I bet it'll be on par with the Stellan Skarsgård one.
The Legion
that
or
one
whatever
a
the
lot,
fuck it is.
yeah.
Whatever one, the Rennie Harlan one that actually went to theaters. That's the one. It's gonna be.
I saw that in theaters.
Dominion.
Dude,
Yes, Dominion.
when we
Dominion
were,
the beginning is the one I'm talking about. Dominion is the
I
one that did
had
not
to
go
watch
there.
both of them. I had to watch both of them for that horror when
I
you
own
did the
both of them. They're
franchises.
part of my Exorcist
Oh well,
collection.
for anyone that is listening to this,
And I own
actually,
them on
we will
TV.
be back together for a Halloween episode in October because that is never dying.
It was
Our
it was in the contract that I signed.
Whoa,
when I
whoa,
was-
whoa! We're not teasing new projects because me and Yusuf haven't nailed down our next one yet.
No, we're teasing a Fear episode that's the old school horror
And
show.
we're all gonna be wrestlers.
But anyway, yeah, no, there's some good stuff coming out. So we're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1992 today. If one of you wants to kind of lead us off with the reasons of why and like kind of what this connected to us to, I think that would start us on a path, and I'll just give a little description of the movie.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a movie, just like an excuse just to get back in it. Joe has invited me. Brian, TJ said that it's been a while since we
I want to say I was
recorded.
actually against it.
And
Motherfucker.
I legit just asked Joe, like, oh, what's the next movie you're recording? And it was Shutter Island. And then TJ was very selfish and decided to be with his lovely fiance instead of us, which is very
Cheers to TJ! Congratulations.
cheers to TJ.
Thank you.
So then it was
How your
put on
feet,
pause.
TJ?
Yeah. It was pretty. How's your feet? That's a great question. Let's not give any context. Just how's your feet?
Like
That's
nothing
it.
ever happened.
Okay.
That
Good.
pained me. That thing you showed us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
So,
it was-
Yusuf, continue with our
Yeah,
path to.
So we were looking for a movie, and I took a hiatus for my other podcast during July, and then in August, Paul Reubens unfortunately passed away. And the first thought that came to my mind was like, have you guys done Buffy? And I just asked you guys, and you guys like, nope, let's do it. So this is where we are. We're
So,
watching
yeah.
a cool horror fun movie, and
Like
it so
magic
happens
movie.
to have a wonderful actor in it.
So, thank you. That is a great description. As we do on the show, I will do the synopsis pulled from Google, which I have not read yet, and it may or may not be accurate to the actual movie. This one has a lot of lines, so I think it's going to be accurate.
Whoop.
Thank you. For Buffy Summers, nothing is the same after she meets Merrick Jameson Smythe. Merrick tells the team that he's been sent to her to train her to fight vampires. And he proves
Classic
himself
pickup
by
line.
displaying
That's such a
his
classic
supernatural
pickup line.
powers. Buffy is quick to study and soon takes fellow student Oliver Pike under her wing, repeatedly saving him from fierce bloodsuckers. But when a dangerous vampire gets rambunctious, she must go to war again. So that's not that accurate.
I didn't know that Pike's first name was Oliver. I've watched this movie a lot of times.
Because they just call him Pike.
Yeah, it's Pike, right?
It's not that it makes it more sound that description makes it more sound a much more like in like she gets trained and then trains Pike, like it's a lot more, and then has to save him. It's a lot more different.
Yeah. You want me to read the back of the DVD?
Sure, that's a fun twist to this.
Put a fun twist.
It's a
on it.
great poster, by the way. That's a great poster.
It is
That's a
a
great
great
poster. And also, I got this signed by Christy Swanson before I found out she was a right wing crank.
Oh,
But
before we talk about any of this, Christy
she was very
Swanson,
nice when she
hot
signed
as
my
could
DVD.
be a nut job today, and that has nothing to do with this movie.
Hey,
No,
I wanna do is a little bit of defending. Like, she has a rough life. She was molested as a kid, and then Alan Thicke was her boyfriend while she was 16 and he was 40.
Okay.
So
What? What?
yeah, so Hollywood may or may not have fucked her up a little.
Right,
Okay.
and but again, like it's okay.
Respect-
for people, yeah,
Respect
context.
Christy, rough life. That
She's
my
still
point
no.
being
A lot
is
of people have rough lives and they're normal people.
that's not what
so-
we're. My point of bringing that up, and thank you for bringing that context and taking all that shit very seriously. That's not the point of us talking about this
No.
movie today. Is
Go ahead.
my point of bringing that up. Brian, when your
circle
mic
back
comes back
to.
on, because it's frozen right now.
Oh no!
What?
I thought he was being. I thought he was being remorseful. Like, ooh, I shouldn't have said. And I was like, Brian, no, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad, Brian. I was just adding context because I was listening to an
There he
interview.
is.
There it
So
is.
Brian, all right, can you read us the back of that now? You
Okay.
froze. You froze.
I know it.
You jinxed it.
I did.
Classic
Like I
flyover.
said, I want to be like a classic flyover, and now it
Classic
truly
flyover
is.
here.
Blonde, bouncy Buffy, Christy Swanson, is your typical high school cheerleader. Her goal is to marry Christian Slater and die, and nothing gets in her way when it's time to shop. But all that changes when a strange man, Donald Sutherland, informs her she's been chosen by fate to kill vampires. With the help of a romantic rebel, Luke Perry, Buffy is soon spending school nights protecting LA from Lothos, the Vampire King, Rutger Hauer. His sidekick, Lefty, who had a real name, right? He had a name before he
Yeah,
lost
he
his
had a
arm.
name.
It's like Malik or
I
Merrick or
got
something
it.
like
I
that.
Yeah,
got
he's
it.
got like a. Anyway, sorry. Lefty, Paul Reubens, and their determined gang of bloodsuckers, which I can't wait to talk about the supporting cast and how many notable names are in
It's
here.
Amlin.
Yeah, so many.
It's
Amlin?
everything you'd expect from a teen queen in the valley. Rated
So-
PG-13.
That is a better description.
Wait,
and
wait.
also like the reference to like Valley Girl.
What's the name?
His name's
boyfriend's name?
Amlin.
Christian
Reubens-
Slater?
No,
No,
Paul
Pike.
Reubens' name
Pike.
is Amlin.
Paul Reubens'
No, I
name
know,
is
but-
Amlin in this.
No. But the name of the boyfriend is Christian Slater. You said she
No.
just wants to marry Christian Slater.
Oh,
says
Well,
that's a
as
line
a
in
Valley
it.
girl, they're saying that's her like credo.
Well,
She
there's
just wants to marry Christian Slater.
Yeah,
and
there's a
die.
line in the movie when she says,
It's a quote.
I actually wrote it. I actually have a fun fact about that line. She goes, when I graduate high school, go to Europe, marry Christian Slater, and then die. The original line in that was actually Charlie Sheen. And I guess for whatever reason they changed it to Christian Slater.
I don't know why, because like I think she and her they worked together for like 4 or 5 movies, so that would have been a cool tidbit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it got
Sheen?
changed.
Yeah. They might have had something behind the scenes.
She was in Hot Shots.
Yeah, they
Oh,
the big thing about this one is, which actually so we all agree this movie's a lot of fun and great, is the director Fran Rubel Kuzia, if I say that name, she basically overrode Joss Whedon on a lot of fucking things. So did Donald Sutherland, and that's why like Joss Whedon was such a d-bag.
He left.
And he just
the
left
set.
and was like, "That's not what I wanted," and then made his show, which also is a great show, but so
SMG.
like that could
Joe,
have been one
you
of
watched
those.
the show? Did either of you guys watch?
So
I
I've
watched-
seen the whole
all the show.
series. But right after this, Buffy,
Just a little past my time, and I was already like a fan of this. I was like, I got a Buffy. I'm good.
I watched.
I watched that and Angel.
You did watch Angel. I watched it.
Angel too.
Junior year, senior year of college. I was just like one of those like early Netflix streaming like binge shit during like like midterms or whatever, like college things.
Yeah.
Just nonstop on the background where like I don't remember half of the fucking show, but I watched it all, got into it, and never thought about it again.
Yeah, no,
Today,
there was something
That's
about
fair.
it. There was something about it that I never connected with. Like
Mhm.
I'm a little older than Joe, so and I'm younger than Brian. But I remember always scrolling through and falling on TNT or TBS. I don't know which one had it on. And I saw episodes, and I remember Angel, and I remember
Yeah.
the makeup. But there's something very one-dimensional visually speaking about the show.
It's
Like,
the
it
same way I
looked
feel
very-
about those CW shows. Like I can never
Yeah,
kind of.
like never.
Yeah, I mean,
It
same.
never feels quite real. It always feels like a TV.
It
like,
happened to me also
flat
with
world.
Charm. I was like,
So-
oh, I've heard so much great
Charmed,
things
yeah.
about Charm. I want to see it.
Same era.
And it's the same. I
So
couldn't.
I need to quiet that dog or mute a mic. But today I watched
Oh, that's spicy.
we are trying to run a show here. Today I watched I did rewatch Buffy.
You watch some of the show?
I watched the show right after because I was like, what is like the comparison and difference? And the weirdest thing is it's not connected, right? But the first episode, they act as if the events of the movie happen because she transfers to the new school. and they're like, "Wow, you burned down your school," and it's like Ludith will fight vampires, and I think like Whedon put out like a comic that was like a redo of the movie, and that's what like led to the show. But it's interesting because at first it very much feels like a sequel.
Yeah.
It's not, but
No, obviously they
the
didn't.
thank you, TJ. The references are there at least in that first episode of her being this bad girl who got expelled from her school for burning down like the gymnasium. But she's also going into that show, I think, like in the show, I think she's going into like her junior year. She's like 16. She's not in her
she's younger. They were
senior year.
seniors in the
Show's fun, but TJ, I was just telling them I watched a decent amount of it today, or like 7 episodes today. But
the
like
show,
any show though, I think it gets into its own groove, if I remember correctly, by like the second season or end of first season's real like we don't know what they're fucking doing. Now
that's where you get the money too.
It takes time also to set up like
groundwork.
You gotta set it up.
Well, you get the investment too, and you can use
like that. You know, anything like Star Trek or any of those other shows.
Best thing about the Buffy show is its side characters make the show shine like any great show.
I mean, I also think the makeup was great too because it kind of took from the Lost Boys, just the brow.
Oh, they're
fixing the
makeup's
eyes.
better. The vampires look better. I think too. Dude, TJ will actually agree with or know exactly. So I didn't grow up with Buffy, but I did grow up with a Buffy knockoff on Fox Family called Big Wolf on Campus.
And, well, we just watched a TV show with Reminisce where Tommy Dawkins, the lead, is a character in that. And I was like,
were you watching the OC?
No, it was like a newer show.
Because he popped up in the fucking OC. Like we were rewatching. Anyway, there was a knockoff Buffy with worse special effects on like ABC. It was Fox Family, ABC Family, and instead of a vampire thing, the guy turned into a werewolf that fought crime in high school.
Dude, talking about werewolves, that sequence of the vampire playing basketball, that was like copy paste of Teen of
it's like right out of Teen Wolf. Also,
like,
shout out to Sasha Jensen, who's in like 3 movies. Like all in a row, and then disappeared forever.
I was gonna say because Days Confused came out in '94, I believe.
That's after this. It's crazy because Ben Affleck is in this.
Ben Affleck's in this.
But he does
the thing. Scrawny, and then like 2 years later, he's the biggest dude in the movie, and fucking Dazed and Confused.
When he jumps Buffy and he does like the whole thing where he's like, "Ha ha!" He uses it later in Dazed and Confused where he does the same thing to like the kids and the girls, like something. Go ahead.
Also, our horror friends out there will know him from Halloween 4.
Yeah, he has great vampire face, though.
He already has the big eyebrows and everything, so he's like perfectly ready to become a vampire. Like he's got the Joker mouth and the big eyebrows.
The coach is the best when he's wrapping up. He's like, points do count, though, right?
Maybe the worst basketball coach in the history of cinema.
Dude, like 85% of the budget went into his hair gel.
Wasn't that guy the host
trying
of that
to keep
show
that fucking
Studs?
helmet? I feel like there's a lot of like obviously like there's a lot of nostalgia that holds over this movie in my head, but there's a lot of half-baked jokes in here. Like you don't like fully get them, like thought out, and he's
the idea
one
of the like motivational speaker kind of.
No,
coach,
I think he is I think he's the high school counselor that was forced to do like be the coach. So that's why he's like so therapy focused.
For so many years, this was like the movie that would make my dad like run from Blockbuster every weekend. But for so many years, I thought that was Paul Reiner from like Mad About You.
Yeah. It's the guy who hosted that game show Studs, Mark DaCosta or something like that.
Before my time. This movie also like just the tone of it and everything. It does toe that line where it's like not quite Teen Wolf, but it's almost Teen Witch too. Like if you just gave it a little more unhinged scenes, like it feels like that cult
it could
classic.
tip into camp very easily. It's like right on the line.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been. Like again, it's nostalgia. Okay. Like it was shocking to me, honestly, when I was like just Googling stuff about it just to prepare for the podcast because I'm a professional, and I was shocked at the rating because it lived in my head as this like fun, dumb movie, and it's like a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's not a hit.
No, and I feel like it's because of what you guys just said. It's because it's towing the line. It really didn't fully commit either way.
Either way,
And I feel like if
It almost
really
feels like
committed
the-
one way, it would have been a far better movie.
It's got the comedy tone of something like a Wayne's World almost, like that early '90s kind of like coming out of the '80s, but we haven't quite like transferred yet. I don't
You
know.
know who also like is just the character that I think encapsulates that like this tone of like makes no sense, and he's actually might be my
David
favorite
Arquette?
character in the movie is Stephen Root's principal.
I
The way
love
he's
Steve
the way he's running around is so
He's playing he's just playing like
silly.
a flat out cliche. Like he's a character from like
him
Leave
throwing
It to
the
Beaver
detention
or something.
slips,
You know what I mean? Like,
the detention slips while there's just dead bodies on the ground.
and smacking Hillary Swank's head into the
That's another person.
I forgot Hillary Swank was in that.
Hillary
Her first
Swank. I know
role.
we're jumping all around, but Hillary Swank crossing her eyes and then sliding down the wall. I was like, 2-time Oscar winner Hillary Swank.
That's how you got the next Karate Kid.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
She was full on like, oh.
I actually looked up. I'm like, all right, what's the gap between 1992 and the next? Like, what? She had like a few
4 years,
TV
maybe?
movies and TV shows in
This is
between.
after Next Karate Kid, though, right?
No, this is her first.
No, it's
role.
This is
before.
before.
Her
Wow.
first feature film, which
Yeah,
is like her
What
first.
a debut.
Karate Kid 3
Karate
came
Kid
out in
is,
like 89
90s.
or 90.
95, 96, something like
Yeah,
that. And then
96, I think.
and then she does Boys Don't Cry in 99, and that puts her on her path to being Oscar darling. But yeah, this movie's David Arquette, right? Like just
Yeah,
having
like
another brilliant
Luke-
scene.
Luke playing an ugly guy, which is hilarious.
But is 90210 big at this time?
Yeah, this is like right
Yeah.
at the height of 902.
Okay, that brings me to my first question. I know like you said, we're jumping all around, but whatever. We're back
That's
together.
what we
The
do.
boys are vibing.
The boys are vibing.
I was gonna say we
Uh,
probably should, for your horror fans, we probably should do a plot synopsis at some point.
we did one.
Did we?
We read
You both read things. I think.
Okay, I guess. Fair
a
enough.
real synopsis.
Were you here?
So no,
See,
so I
that's
do have one
Ryan,
big question.
Ryan,
It's
see
my
why
only
they
que-
call-
I guess. Well, on a traditional Fear episode, Joe like walks
Yeah,
through
that-
the plot. I
but-
didn't know if we were
but
gonna do one
Ryan-
of those.
We're
Ryan,
gonna
did you-
go
Ryan,
through
did
it.
you see the cards? He's bored by your traditional ways. Okay.
That's his traditional way.
This is how I need to do shows.
You're
No,
just going to tear you guys apart.
I do have one
He
question.
came back to
and
finish the job. He killed one show. He's back to.
I will circle back to the start of the movie. I have one question. I do not understand the 90s obsession with the 40-year-old man known as Luke Perry. Do not get it.
He looks like James Dean. He's
Oh,
90s
wow.
James Dean.
He has a 401k and should not be around those children.
Yeah, that's an old Simpsons joke. We get it.
I just don't
No.
get it. He's not that handsome.
I'll agree
I
with
think
you.
Put young Brad
personally,
Pitt in
I
that
think
role
it's
I think
for
it's
showing
pretty
up.
too. Yeah. I
But I
Tell
feel
me
like-
young Brad Pitt's not taking that fucking easy money, easy no name role in '92 where he doesn't have jobs.
What
I
was
feel
Thelma
like
and
it's-
Louise?
I think it's wild at 95.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway,
95.
92.
No,
Buffy.
Thelma and Louise is 95.
No, it's late. It's early, way earlier. It's like 90 or
94.
91.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. My point being is I don't get Luke Perry, but I'll bring this.
I feel like
I'll
it's-
tell you exactly, Joe. I'll tell you exactly the reason that Luke Perry is in this movie is because this is a movie that was aimed at teenagers, and he was on the biggest television show
No, I
on
get it.
TV at the time.
In California, 90210. This is a Valley Girl movie. I get
Yep.
it.
And they flipped his character.
Him and David Arquette going into the coffee shop or into the diner and trying to get food.
The
Well,
Hot
coins.
dog.
How much can I get there? And I was so fucking confused that I rewinded because she just looks at it, right? And she's like, 2
Hot dog.
coffees, 1 hot dog, nothing on it. I'm like, you charge for like ketchup and
Yeah, those
sugar?
condiments. Also,
Like-
cameo alert. That's Ricky Lake as the fucking waitress.
Yes. Yes.
Oh shit.
So this movie did want to have more cameos like that too. So David Bowie, Mick Jagger, and Carrie Elwes were all attached to be vampires, and they were all cut for like time and budgets and shit. So at least we got Ricky Lake.
Oh, we do get Seth Green
Seth
Yeah.
Green.
We get the guy who is the sleazy dude from the Relic who tries to steal. He's the only other thing I've ever seen him in. He's like an Asian actor. He's the sleazy guy in the Relic who tries to steal her like grant money, and then he was a vampire in this. Also, one of Buffy's friends is the girl from the beginning of Urban Legend. The girl in the car.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Casey.
Yeah,
Casey.
Yeah.
The yellow jacket.
Or the yellow jacket. Yep, that's her.
Speaking of Yellow
And
Jack,
fun fact, Merrick is the guy from Invasions of the Body Snatchers.
What?
yes.
I thought he was in
What?
Backdraft. I thought
Donald
he was in Backdraft.
Sutherland. So,
want
we
you
do
to
start
come
the movie
in.
off though, and I think the with the weakest parts of the movie to me are all the flashbacks to the old
Yes.
times of as vampires and
They look like a high school theater.
stage play.
They
Yeah,
were fully shot at a Ren fair. Yeah.
it just doesn't work. You could do that so much
One thing
better.
that works though is Paul Reubens' drip in this scene. Like he's the
Yeah.
only one that looks good.
I think Paul Reubens always works in this movie. I'm
This
just saying that 'cause he
movie-
just passed. Like
This movie's an hour and 25 minutes, which is wonderful.
this is
Yeah,
Child's
but
Play.
40
This
but
is Child's Play
45
2.
Yes, Child's Play 2. This is
Not as good.
the perfect.
Oh no.
But 45 minutes of it is dedicated to cheerleaders dancing. If you would have dedicated 20 minutes of that time for Paul Reubens and Rutger Hauer,
There
This
is
movie would
not
be-
that much cheerleading in this movie.
those cheerleaders provided great and ample time for you to go to the bathroom, get a
Very
snack,
ample.
grab a
Very
beer. Like, and I'm
Okay.
talking in real life, and also for like people actually like in the movie.
At the
Yeah.
game.
All right, let's go piss.
Well, I do have to say, I never thought the "How funky is your chicken" cheer was particularly captivating.
Guys, they're pretty
I-
bad cheerleaders.
I
They're
memorized
not
that thing
good.
so much. Also, why wasn't Hillary Swank a cheerleader? She was in the
Yeah, she
bleachers
just
like
hung
this.
out. She was just a Heather.
Yeah. And
She
she was
was,
also the worst of them all. It's like, don't tread on me. We have to tread on the earth. We walk on it.
And
What?
Yes,
Christy
that's a great
Swanson would have been all about that fucking phrase today.
Yeah, I was gonna say she really connected with that.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like, that's
Egg.
great. We should use that more.
Keep going, Joe.
Well, we do get like this intro and like who Slayers are, and like the purpose of a Slayer is that they're put on this earth. They're the chosen one. They have a birthmark. We do learn that Chrissy Swanson gets this gross hairy mole removed, which is the birthmark. Who says they are there to kill vampires, and Donald Sutherland, comes to her in the creepiest fucking way in the gymnasium.
Dude, that
Locker
has
room.
to be the worst sell pitch I've ever heard in my life. Hi, you're a vampire slayer. Come with me to the graveyard. I'm like, dude, how are we selling this? How did you
Also,
like?
She's like, nah.
You broke a high school. You broke.
I
Also,
got
Like
how
just
many-
roll up in a van and throw a bag over her head while you're
so it's
at
like, how many? Do you gotta think also how many people has he thrown that knife at the head and they just didn't catch it? And he's like,
That
I
was
fucking
the
have
How many
that-
potential slayers have been murdered?
I
She
have that-
straight up gets trial by fire every time. Like the graveyard too. Oh no, I knew the body would come back
He's
out.
just
So
murdering kids left and
It's
right.
It's like, shit. That'd be a great SNL skit in the 90s if they ever went back and did that, like Michael Myers. But yeah, the thing about the graveyard thing too. Now, if you have ever seen the show, the vampire's not a little bit more scary. And this one, I feel like anybody could beat the shit out of these vampires.
Well, literally, not to jump ahead, but at the end, like the high schoolers are doing a pretty good job holding their own.
Holding
They-
them off, yeah.
During
There's
the prom.
there's a shot at the end too, or like one of the last ones where like there's just two extras that clearly were like, yeah, you can't touch Christy because they're just like standing there, and I'm like, just fucking attack her.
Just get her.
I wrote down that I didn't know that one of the biggest weaknesses of vampires was high school gymnastics, because she just started doing like backflips,
flips.
and all of them were like,
We
whoa,
gotta give a shout
whoa,
out.
whoa.
We got to give a shout out to Christy Swanson, stunt woman or women, because there's definitely one that is specializing in the gymnastics,
Yeah.
because they're very careful to like keep her face covered, and then Christy Swanson will pop up like, "Woo, I did it!" You know. And then there's also, I don't know if it's the same girl or if it was two different girls, but there's also a motorcycle riding Both her and Luke
Oh,
Perry
that scene.
did
That
not do
scene
their own
is.
motorcycle riding in this. There's a great shot right at the very end where it is so obviously not them, and it like two people get on the bike, and then it cuts to a shot of them, like, you know, the faces like, yes, we are on this motorcycle,
Yes,
and then
we're
back
here.
around to them from behind, which is two definitely stunt people driving
It's
away.
Brian. It's
Yeah,
it's when
brown
she
hair
shows
under
up
the
to the
wig.
junkyard.
Mhm.
It looked
That's the
and
scene where she shows up at the junkyard. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's just a physically different body and wig.
Oh yeah,
like
is that where she
getting
jumps
off.
the bike? The
that's
Yeah.
little
honestly
carnival
that's
thing?
one of my favorite things about old movies is that like just like oh that's the stuntman right there.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I truly
Oh,
hate now
Blu-ray!
that
I mean,
the
Blu-ray and
CGI
4K like have changed the game on a spot and stuntman. Like,
We were watching something recently. I'm blanking on it, but it was like a soccer scene, and someone was doing a sliding kick, and it was like a blonde, like white girl, and the person they had as a stunt person was just like a red, like the face was just like flush red with like a blonde wig on, and like I slowed it down. I'm like, that is just it's just clear as day.
my favorite one was when we were watching The Fan. We were watching The Fan for Flyover, and they go into the ocean, and it's like two different completely human beings in the water, and they're so bold faced to do close ups of those human beings. They're
That's
like,
a
fuck
bad
it,
one.
fuck
That's a
it,
bad
we don't care. They're
Yeah.
different people.
My
no,
favorite
I
tidbit
will
about
say
the
that
fan
like
is
the
that
camera work in this one was good. They like did a good job of hiding it and making
Yeah.
you think like. It's only because I've seen this movie a million times that I even like as a kid and as a teen, I never clocked it. You know.
no, it's so enjoyable. I think TJ makes a good point too earlier with this movie, and like not clocking shit. Point would be like, you called it a blockbuster movie, like a blockbuster video rental movie earlier.
Oh yeah.
That's what it was. I remember seeing this on the fucking shelf because it was in the comedy section.
Yep.
Yeah. It is a
And it's a
comedy.
great
It's
and
funny.
like
No,
and
it is a
like
comedy. It is a
There's
comedy.
like
no,
we s-
there's no blood
Yeah.
no,
No,
whatsoever.
it's
I mean just
Paul
with the
Reubens' death scene is one of the
yes.
funniest
Dude.
things I've ever seen
the
in a
foot
movie.
tap,
Period.
the foot
Like
taps.
it's the
Before
best.
before we even get to that,
Yeah, let's
is
go
when-
through it a little.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
this is
sorry.
TJ's
We're
point.
jumping around way too much.
No,
No,
TJ,
we're good.
what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say before we get to that, one of his best scenes is when him and Jason Priestley. It's Jason Priestley, right?
No,
No,
it's
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry. Jeez, I get
Same
those two
person.
mixed up all the
They
time.
do look
Yes, same
exactly
person.
the same.
Yeah. When they first introduce him and he goes to the van and he's trying to mess with him through the van, he's like riding on top. And he's like, "That was my new jacket." Kill him a lot.
His intro, I love when they with him on the merry-go-round where he's on the horse. He's got a real cool, spooky intro. I love it.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, he really sells it. Like I just wish that there was more because I
Oh,
even
that he
feel
wasn't
like
so old.
no, I feel like
Oh.
they needed more of him and Rutger, like more banter
Yeah.
between them, and even Rutger and Buffy in the end, they don't really have like a good
It's
banter either.
it's such a lackadaisical final like fight
Yeah.
climax. It reminded me of some of the, like they ran out of money or something like that because there's a
Well,
sword.
you know, I never expect a movie from the early '90s to have any kind of crazy fight choreo. They were doing their best or whatever.
But they could
like,
do that. But I'm sort of like, there's better climax in like Wayne's
Or
World
add
in
more
fighting
stakes,
than
or add more
this.
stakes.
Yeah.
Like at
Um,
least let him kill a couple of high schoolers.
I just never felt Rucker Hauer was threatening, and I think a
no,
lot of
he's
that is
very.
There's no
feel very
distinction
scary.
between him and the rest of the vampires
well, Paul
outside of the
Reubens.
sword.
Paul Reubens just like I'm like, wow, that's the main villain for the longest time because he's hamming it up and running around killing people like the main villain. Yeah, Rucker Hauer. It's because it's a fun movie. Like kind of wasted in that.
Yeah, I feel like
It's hard. Also, like it's hard too. Like, what do you do with the vampire? Like, all the powers are gonna be the same, other than maybe daywalking.
But he's supposed to be
No,
like
but
Dracula.
it's like a mob.
that's what I
Yeah,
was
well,
gonna
I
say.
think
It's
the
a
most
mob
interesting
boss.
stuff they do with Rucker Hauer is like the seduction scenes
Yes.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I just blank on the name, but it's Fright Night. That's the name that was current kid.
Sure.
Oh,
There
yeah.
they sell the main bad guy as somebody as something almost insurmountable, like this fucking being that you cannot conquer. Here, Rucker is just like, I'm gonna eat a cat.
Like the second
I
week,
want to
the
die.
second weakest type of scene to me was actually when Buffy, Merrick, Buffy and Merrick meet Rucker Hauer and Reubens, and it's seen at the same time, and it's when Merrick dies. It feels like I think my note was like, why aren't they fucking him up? Like it's just there's no explanation of like,
Here's a question too.
There's mutual respect, but actually I'm gonna kill Merrick and I want to fuck Buffy or whatever he wants to do to her,
dude. And
like,
it
It's like
has.
he wants Buffy to be a worthy adversary. She's not ready, and because he wants to give her more time, he's like he's gonna like pacify himself by killing Merrick. It's like,
yeah.
This
was
is
like,
to
you
tide
killed
me
him
over
this whole
until
time?
But
I
also,
thought was you
like,
could kill him this whole time, and we're supposed to think this has been like hundreds of years of you two dealing with each other.
Do they
also,
explain
like,
why
it's implied. I don't know if anybody else picked it, but like Rucker Hauer's killed all the previous Slayers.
Yes.
Like,
well,
clearly all the
I
Slayers.
want to chime in on that.
He
But
seduces
do
them,
they-
he murders them. It's all has worked before.
Do they explain why Merrick is alive for all this
That's
time?
what I want to ask. Is like, is he because they say the
I
the
felt
Slayers
like it was
passed
like a
on.
reincarnation thing.
So what does
okay.
he do? What does he do from such a young age then? Because the Slayer doesn't really get it activated until Merrick, whoever plays Merrick,
Maybe
finds them,
maybe in
right?
a Merrick's lifetime he can train 2 or 3 Slayers.
Yeah, but then he's getting them all killed
Yeah,
at that
well.
point. Dang, that's crazy. Because I don't think
Also,
they even cover that in the actual TV series, the Whisperers. What do they call them? I forget what their names are.
The Scoobies.
Yes, yeah,
That's what the group
Scoobies?
like. They're called the
The
Scoobies.
show sounds bad. I'm not gonna
that
lie.
show sounds bad.
No, I think they're called. They're called the Watchers. They're called the
Scoobies?
Watchers.
I don't remember the.
No, they're
I
called
just
the
know like
Watchers.
the gang of
The
people
Scoobies.
like Allison Hannigan and Kristen
No.
Carter, like her friends and like.
I'm just talking about the
Giles.
Watcher.
Oh, the
Because
Watcher.
he's like I lived 1,000 years. I've seen you guys all.
It's
go
reincarnation. It's all reincarnate. Like so in the show, which
Also-
I'm glad I watched the pilot today for that, is like she shows up and like I was saying earlier, like the events of this movie seemingly happened in the show before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Her next like watcher type person is the librarian of the school, and he's like, "Oh great, the Slayer's here," and she hands him a book about vampires, and like Sarah Michelle Gellar is like, she's still playing Buff. She's like, I don't want that. Like, I'm just here to get like textbooks, So like these things in Joss Whedon's world are instilled and know what the Slayers are, and there are plenty of them based around.
TJ, I'm very allergic to cats. Could you be a little more considerate, please?
Sorry. Go
Um,
Call
and
back.
that's in that scene where Merrick dies and all that shit. There's the most Josh Whedon's line that I can almost like imagine him like with a boner writing it, and when he when Rucker sees Buffy and he's like, "And you have ripened so fast," and I'm like, "Oh, why is that grown man saying that too?"
Don't say ripened. Oh, horrible.
But it also has the counter best line of Paul Reubens being like to Luke Perry being like, "We be wagging that jaw as I'm biting it off." Like, come on, because they already had that interaction before. He ripped his arm off. He's like, "You know how this ended, Lefty? I messed you up the first time."
Fuck out.
Yeah,
I did. What's terrible with that ripen scene is he also has the good part of it in that speech too, being like, do everything you're terrible. Do everything what you keep doing because it's working.
Yeah.
Like it's great. It's a little great speech, and then he ruins it.
Right.
And we let this motherfucker direct the Avengers.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild because like I remember watching Buffy, and then somebody's like, "Oh yeah, it's Whedon. He's the guy from Buffy." And I'm like,
yeah, I might
okay.
I still may put on a few episodes. Like,
dude, I've watched up to the 3rd season. That's when I stopped because 3rd season got a little bit too full of itself. But the first 3, I mean, they're pretty good.
Anyway, yeah, the things are. I also love the intro scene. Not intro, but like David Arquette's character gets turned and how he comes up to the top floor of.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a real Salem's Lot.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
going on there. Like it's very.
That scene.
Yeah.
That scene and the scene of Paul Reubens are like the main things that stayed in my head as a kid.
Yeah.
Him in the window.
Thing of like, you're floating.
You're floating. Yeah.
He's like, what'd you
I
take,
do have
man?
one like movie. I've had a few, I guess. Another movie issue. This makes no sense. It's when David Arquette's like on the street. They're like on the boulevard, and like he meets or whatever. And we know he's a vampire already, but they do that weird cut to the photo booth, takes photos of him, and it lets the fucking photo out with no, he's not there.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no shit, he's a vampire. Like, we've established, this is a reveal for someone you don't know is a vampire.
I don't think it was a reveal. I think it was just a thing of like, hey,
It was
see,
like
a fun
remember
thing,
how
yeah.
vampires don't have a reflection? It's
No,
just like
it was
I think
cute.
it's just a bit. They're just
It
doing
was
a bit.
cute. It just
Yeah,
meant like
they were
that's
doing- They were doing a bit.
the bit didn't
Yeah.
work for me.
It's just a bit. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that.
I enjoy
When
that.
when that happened in the movie, I turned to Sarah. I was like, I love that. I love
No,
it.
I
The,
would
like
not.
the slow push in on the
That's
like.
all he does. He
down
walks
all the
out.
Blank. It's got it. I'll tell you what. It feels like
Man,
what
this
TJ said. It
podcast-
feels like something out of Lost Boys.
I
Like
don't know,
but
I
I
feel
want-
like
that moment
He
feels
does
like
that
Lost
thing
Boys.
too, where he goes, Buffy, and he does his head thing, and then walks away.
I
as he
Yeah,
does
because
it.
he's in love with her. He
Yeah, it's
loves
like,
Buffy.
Yeah, but I want that if like we didn't know he was a fucking vampire.
I don't know, Joe. I feel like I don't want to say it out loud, but there's a lot of friction between you and Brian. I'm picking up a lot of.
That animosity is what makes a podcast.
Yeah, that's
good
why
and
with the show's
strong. It gives us differing opinions is what makes it interesting.
Whatever you want to be. If you want to be in a toxic relationship, that's
Hey,
fine.
we can't help it that somebody fractured our. We're just picking up the pieces and doing our best. Somebody top dogged us and left the show for to go start his movie career or whatever it was.
His movie career.
Ooh, can we talk about? Can we
Check
talk
me
about
out.
the?
Check me out with me and Christy and Dean.
I was saying, me and Stephen Amell. You can check me and Stephen Amell crossing the picket line together.
What is that?
What are you doing? What's that?
I don't know.
That's
I'm just waiting until this topic's over.
Well, I was gonna say, what about
Joe's
Buffy?
sick of hearing about this.
I should have. I really wanted to pick that movie for one of our Flyover episodes.
I love this
I
movie.
really wanted to
the
pick
horror,
it.
it's
It's
a horror
so
movie, yeah.
racist.
It's so racist. That's
It's
true.
so like that. Different topic for a different time. I might bring this to Texas with us.
Speaking of racist,
Bring it.
can we talk about Buffy's boyfriend's best friend? Like, as we're talking about side characters.
Oh, the
like
rapist?
The little guy is like, I don't really want some right now. I'm okay. After she snaps on him.
Yeah.
That guy is like one of those characters in movies that no one ever really thinks about. But also, is he the guy in Brian might be the only one who can answer this. My boyfriend's back.
It might be. Yeah, it looks like the same
he's
actor.
the guy.
I know I've seen him in a few things.
Oh, my boyfriend.
I was thinking,
yes.
Speaking of rapists and really dark shit, this movie kind of ends in the end credits when they're doing all the interviews. Like they cut to the Buffy's ex and the girl he took to the dance who she sees having sex in the car, and that girl's all crying and is like, "What did you make me do?" And it's like, oh, that's pretty grim.
Weak.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We plays for a joke though. To Whedon, that's hilarious. That's just hilarious.
Oh, hilarious. Rapist hilarious.
I will.
But
shit! Alexis Arquette was also in the movie.
We can talk about the DJs.
Yeah, the DJ.
Oh, it's Alexis Arquette.
DJ. You know who the first DJ is? It's Slash from Guns N' Roses. And then the replacement DJ, the vampire DJ, is Alexis Arquette.
That's crazy.
Pay more attention to this movie because you guys are blowing my mind.
In this, like that. Her boyfriend. Speaking of her boyfriend, or like not Luke Perry boyfriend, but like the
the guy who's her boyfriend at the beginning, with her prepping, whatever.
I will say
up with my machine.
I will say because he's involved in them. The training this movie does shine in its fucking montage work. They do some Rocky level montages with her training. And
I did enjoy that.
Awkward cuts of her just like kissing her boyfriend between. I think the show like I'm still the Valley Girl.
Right, still trying to live her normal life while she trains to be the Slayer.
Great music,
that end scene that you mentioned, Brian, really justifies why he would tolerate such a pervy, rapey friend that is always trying to hit on his girlfriend because that's just him as well.
Yeah, like under the surface, he's fine with that. It's like he right up his alley, like.
That scene where he's like,
a guy who seems like a nice guy, but he's got a friend like that. That means like secretly he's kind of like all right with like that sort of shit,
you justify that behavior, baby.
Or they're banging each other.
Oh, whoa.
I wish that would have been awesome if they would have wrote that into this movie.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Come on, Joss. Fucking wuss.
But I know we were saying earlier about the runtime being like 80 minutes or so, but talking about this now makes me think we needed like one more or a different like inciting incident before we just get to the dance in the gym.
Yeah, there's a lot of this in this movie that is not earned, and I feel like the biggest example I could give you is when Donald Sutherland dies. Like Buffy's like crying, like they really didn't build
Yeah.
that. Like
Like, she
again,
has
that's
And she
you
wants to
pick
quit
a
right
lane.
after, too.
You
Yeah.
gotta pick a lane. It's either
She has
super
that
tongue-in-cheek
speech.
camp or serious, and they try to be serious in that moment. I'm like, I thought this was a comedy.
She has that speech too later where she's like, he died for nothing. And it's like, you're right, there's no connection.
Yeah, where did that come from? They were just training montages, and he dies.
And like, back to reference, like this movie, ton of fun. Like, I think you throw it on 3 times a year, completely enjoy it.
Yeah, it's
But
dumb fun.
3 times a year is good.
I get its rating though, almost. Like if it was your like job to rate it or review it in like 1992 or whatever.
That's the thing, though. Like, if I had a young daughter or a young son that I want to show this movie to, I'd show him the show first, I think, before I'd show him the movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
show ain't bad.
I would show them Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'd show them Big Wolf on Campus and just be like, this is what men do.
Yeah, fair.
See, I'd show them this movie because it's got a more like focus, like a show like that. A little kid, they get bored. 2 or 3 episodes, they can't.
And it's also it's like
90 minutes, and there's actually a really good. I kind of picked up on it here. I didn't really think about it too much, but it's like a pretty direct metaphor in this movie for like kind of outgrowing your friend group and like changing as you get older and like graduating high school and kind of becoming an adult. It's like there's a real element of that I think that's a good thing for kids to kind of think about.
I will say this.
But that's like 99% of coming of age movies.
So I will say this, Brian, because you don't have reference to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm glad I watched the pilot to this because I think it is kind of interesting to do the comparison. Is in the pilot, it is all about her because she's Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they don't ignore the fact that she's Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like the new popular, the crowd pop girls are like, you're gonna come with us, work with us, and like Buffy makes a conscious effort to go to like nerdy Allison Hannigan to be like, I want to sit with you, and I want to be your friend, and like no, like you're an individual too, like we could be friends, like I don't care about the popularity. So I think that's like the fuck Joss Whedon, but like I think like that was like the message all throughout like the Buffy storytelling in both movies.
But also you skipped like it's like Batman Year 5 because she's already been through half the
stuff.
So
keep forgetting that pilot.
But also her friends are fucking hilarious when the one that dies but she's wearing the jacket that she borrowed. And they're like complaining, like, you didn't get the jacket back?
What's wild is I wanted to, I watched this today and Laura wasn't home. I wanted to be like, you'd wear like 90% of these fits today. Like, it's just all back in style. Like her inconspicuous, like, outfit when she was, like, fighting like the third vampire in the alley when, like, Sutherland was hanging in the back.
Yeah, when she's like using herself as bait or whatever.
I was like, wow, that is just like a modern day like it girl fit, and that's like the inconspicuous outfit. Yusuf knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I really wanted to be like,
show cramps as like a warning system. They're like, oh yeah, when you have cramps, it's warning for vampires.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That was such a
she's
Josh
running around
Whedon
like
line.
this the whole movie.
That was such a Josh Whedon line too. When I heard that, I was like, "Fucking Joss Whedon! Fucking Joss Whedon!"
Imagine if we got that motherfucker's Wonder Woman. How awful that would be.
Yeah, that would have been some bad shit for real.
Dude, you know what? I know that we haven't wrapped up, but we keep referencing Josh Whedon because he went on to have like technically an amazing career.
Mhm.
But I legit feel bad for Christy. I know she's MAGA and all that shit, but I think she's like the best example of how everything is just timing and luck.
Yeah.
But because like Buffy and the Phantom comes out at the right time, they fucking become like franchises. Like even if they were subpar franchises
So
during their early 2000s, they would have been like this campy comic book franchises. But
Yeah,
since they
if the
came out in the
Phantom could have
90s,
just been as good as Blade, it could have gotten a franchise.
I saw the
Like,
Phantom in
I just
theaters. I
watched
have a
Blade
vivid
earlier.
childhood memory seeing it.
fucking loved the Phantom and all the shitty rings of the
This
skull
isn't
rings.
this isn't a good endorsement,
Skull
or it's a good
ring.
endorsement, but it's not. I'm gonna give Christy Swanson like a lot of credit. So I'm a big fan of the show Psych,
Yeah, she's in
and
it.
Psych is known for just bringing back any 90s, 80s like actor, and she becomes Lassiter's like eventually wife, and has a really fun late arc in Psych in a vampire episode where she's the guest of the show, and she kills it. Marla, and then she comes through in and out. Unfortunately, because of who she is today, they have not let her. And she let her. She has not returned for their like movies they do every couple of years now. And you're like, "Where's Lassiter's wife?" And you're like, she's at January 6th.
They should just say that in the show. That'd be amazing. Like,
but
my wife couldn't be here. She's on trial for Jan 6th.
But her first episode, especially in Psych, Vampire, I think it's called This Episode Sucks.
Yeah, they're like in a vampire nightclub.
Yeah, there's someone like draining blood from people pretending to be a vampire.
It's her
it
brother.
Fucking rules. Corey Feldman's also in the episode. Like it has cameos galore.
Say less.
But
no, dude,
it's great.
That series, like the first 4 seasons, I think it's just like a very straightforward procedural. And after
with
like
some big jokes,
from seasons 5 to 7, they're just recreating fucking movies.
Yeah.
They're just like doing big themes in episodes. Like the one that I mentioned, like they did Twin Peaks for like an entire fucking episode. It's just
that's like their
Twin
most
Peaks.
famous.
Yeah,
it would actually, with quick psych rant there is. It's
we
not even
do
the
that
first
on that
4.
show
It's
Community too.
It's
Yeah.
better
Not
than
their
Community.
thing. Yeah.
It's like after season 2, I remember seeing a interview with James Roday, and he said, "Oh, we realized after the second season or the first season, as long as someone dies and it gets resolved, they'll let us do whatever we want, storytelling wise and joke wise, in between the 45 minutes." So you're right, but by season 4 or 5, they're just like, we want to do a vampire episode. Great.
Yep.
We want to do Twin Peaks. What I'm saying is, watch Psych. Give Christy Swanson some.
Dude,
some
I
love.
didn't honestly.
I feel like this whole episode has been like a fucking give Christy Swanson her flowers. Like everybody's been backpedaling.
No, I don't.
Well, let me tell you about Lizzo.
Shit, turf, chud.
I just think she's a very ample,
anti-vax turd, just like everybody else.
You know? Yeah, no, she
said enough
sucks.
about how good she is as an actress and how many wonderful
sucks.
projects she's been in.
So she fucking sucks, but I didn't realize how prevalent she was in my childhood, though. Like that's just the reason why I'm bringing it up, because like Hot Shots, Dude, Where's My Car? She's in Ferris Bueller.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like she's everywhere.
She's barely in Ferris Bueller. She has like a line.
But
I know, but I'm saying like I kept seeing
Dude, Where's
her
My
face
Car?
and I didn't know it was her.
I never watched Dude, Where's My Car because I was old enough to recognize bad movies by that time.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh,
Brian
you're so
has
fucking cool.
I forgot Brian has the
You're
most
so
eyebrow
fucking
comedy
cool.
take of all time. You can't talk
Brian,
about comedies
don't do
around
that.
Brian. He's like, oh, they said dicks. Move on. All right. But
Stoner
back to
bashing
Buffy.
time.
Yeah, I don't know. What else we got to add? I know this is a traditional episode.
I've ran out of notes. That was my last note.
Well, I mean, we go back to the Paul. Let's go. The reason why we did this. Go back to the Paul Reubens death scene.
Yes. Give him his.
We were saving Paul. That's right.
Let's give Paul his flowers, and then let Brian answer.
Finally, we stop talking kissing Christy Swanson's little beehole.
Yeah, he should have
been. All right, fuck you and
vampire.
your autograph, motherfucker. You have her autograph right there.
Yeah,
Yo,
I know.
she might. I'm going to Monster
She got
Mania.
enough.
Why you kept that? Why you kept
she
that?
might be there. Actually, Randy, wait. Randy Quaid's going to be at Monster Mania on Sunday. You think I should ask him if he knows her?
Yes. Ask
Give
him a
her
bunch of stuff.
100% give him one of your cards.
I ain't going in that room. I ain't buying anyone's shit. Anyway, go on. Back to Paul Reubens. Someone lead us over to Paul Reubens.
I mean,
Tia,
this
you were setting it up.
yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Pee Wee Herman, Big Top Pee Wee, anything that he's done, you have to know him from this movie because he probably has one of the best death scenes of all time. Whether he plays vampire, a human, an alien, a werewolf, regardless of whatever he plays, this guy nailed this scene entirely because I don't know if it was a choice from the director, but he was able to give full Hammett as much
Yeah,
as he
I
can.
feel like it. Have you seen Birdcage
Yes.
with Robin Williams? Right.
One of my favorite movies.
99% of that movie is Robin Williams playing the straight man, ironic, to his partner. And there's that one fucking scene like where he's dancing and he just fucking lets go.
They let Robin be
Madonna,
Robin for a
Madonna,
minute.
Vogue, and you're like, oh, that's Robin Williams. I felt like that's how it felt when he was doing his death scene. I was like, that's fucking Pee Wee right there. That's it.
So
That's it.
can I add to that? Because I pulled some fun facts. His death scene was not scripted at all. Like he was not supposed to die in that scene. He just ad-libbed the whole thing, and it dictated where the character and script
But
went.
it even takes like the Rucker Hauer where like he goes like this. They're talking about death. He's like, you have to be the one who takes it. And he's like, and he's like, all right. He looks at Chrissy. Chrissy hits him with it. And by the way, with these vampires being so easy to kill, all of the stakes are either like those little wooden things you find on the lawn that had just got pesticide on it.
Yeah.
It's the thinnest things ever. And you take them, and they put it under the armpit like you used to do when you were a kid.
Like,
and just play that out. Yeah.
Like a high school play or some shit.
It is because you feel for it because you like the character throughout the movie, but the way it's just so cheesed up is the reason why Twisted Metal, what I was talking about earlier, works so well. Is because I feel like they know what they're doing, and it's not being scripted. It might be probably the 20th time they filmed the scene. They were just like, Paul, do your thing, and the director was like, you know what? Let's keep that. We're gonna keep that in there because it's so good.
Yeah, I watched some Pee Wee's Playhouse as a kid, but like the kind of more adult the movies, and like I just actually watched the HBO special that like kind of like started it all from like in 1981. I just watched that like this week after he passed. I was not really aware, and I don't think I ever properly respected like what a character and how much he did with it, and like, you know what I mean. So but yeah, I mean obviously in this movie and in bit roles and things like Mystery Men, it's the fucking it's so good.
For me, the first thing I thought of by like side roles and everything like that was him in Blow, which is the same kind of like.
I only ever saw that once, but one of the only things that ever stands out to me about it was he's in it.
He stands out. He's a similar like he's a character in the movie, not just like a I'm a drug dealer and I'm a person. Like he's playing
in the same way like same way like Al Pacino's Scarface is referencing a bunch of hip hop songs throughout the early 90s. Like whoever he played in real life based on the true story of it, no matter if they knew the actual story, rappers were referencing Paul Reubens' character played in Blow over and over again just because of what he did.
Because he steals his scenes at the height of Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz.
Yeah, like Johnny Depp era.
It's a good movie. Like fucking Ray Liotta's in that movie and like is very like nuanced, and which is weird to say about Ray Liotta, but like it that's what I thought of when I first thought of like Reubens. Like I did not grow up with Pee Wee, so I don't have the Pee Wee connection, right? I just was like I respect him as a character.
I mean, it's basically like a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but for the quirky kids. And like
I like the movie. Like,
but the weird thing is, it started out as a little bit more of an adult thing, kind of, and then kind of morphed into a thing for kids. Even though it was always kind of like from the perspective of Pee-wee always had a childlike perspective, so it's just very interesting the way it
What's the
changed and
movie with
evolved through his
What's the
career.
movie with Martin Short, who plays a young kid, but he's actually
Clifford.
Clifford.
he's supposed to be like a kid, right? But we
Yeah.
see him as an adult. Pee-wee.
This is
Oh, that's all I'm
this is my most cursed Paul Reubens take. Is I've seen I've seen Pee-wee. I remember the movie. I remember enjoying in the movie. The actual show itself, not my time frame. Every reference and everything I know about it is from Family Guy jokes, because it's littered throughout those first like 3 original run seasons. Those first 3
they do
seasons
a
of
lot,
original run.
a lot of Pee-wee jokes.
It's like every 3 episodes, there's a lot of Pee-wee shit, and that is like my baseline of it. What that is.
Yeah.
And then you learn from it and blah blah blah. And, a kid of cultured media as I was.
Well, yeah, like I was literally the right age to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. You know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Pee-wee's Playhouse felt like a show for kids, but it's actually for the adults that are sitting next to the kid. That's how.
That's
it-
what I learned
that's
about
fair.
California
I'll watch
Raisins.
it. Yeah.
California Raisins was where I learned, from
Joe,
Pee-wee.
you might think of it as like a SpongeBob. Is
No,
that what you
SpongeBob.
understand?
I know what it is. I like it. I don't not dislike it. I just didn't grow with it. I saw the movie.
Where he started screaming.
Hey, Chompy. Yeah, like I know
Also,
what.
if we're gonna talk about Pee-wee a little bit, like just the look, the aesthetic of Pee-wee's world, and like the Playhouse itself, and his, the movies and stuff. Everything was so fun and cool about Paul Reubens. I mean, obviously that all stemmed from the stage show. It's like the first movie's a Tim Burton movie, but it doesn't look like it's a Pee-wee movie. Like Tim Burton adapted what Paul Reubens created. Which
I know.
Yeah, I think the closest that Tim got to what he did with Pee-wee was like probably Big Fish. Like that's that type of world that you're like, okay.
Just rewatched that recently too. So good.
I know.
Beetlejuice is something that feels like it could almost take place in like a Pee-wee style world.
Same
I
with
know
too.
As a big Phil Hartman fan that I am.
I never knew that he helped co-write.
I didn't know he helped create Pee-wee and the unfortunate controversy surrounding it.
I had always known he was like on the show and that he was Captain Carl and stuff, but I didn't realize that he helped kind of co-create it with Paul Reubens. What's the controversy, Joe? I don't know if I knew anything about that.
Phil Hartman won. I think it's where Howard Stern is. So Howard Stern was like needling. I think they resolved it.
Yeah.
Basically, he wanted residuals and credit for Pee-wee Herman's creation because they came up with the character together and the look or the aesthetic and like the voice of it. I think during the Groundlings or whatever comedy troupe they were, and that's
they went to Caltech together.
Right? That's a pretty common thing with those comedy troupes, though, is like people developing things and then if it gets popular, like not getting the proper credit later.
Yeah.
So, but from everything everyone talks about it's pretty understanding each way. Like no one blames Phil for having that, and no one blames Paul Reubens, for
not having done
it either. Yeah. And I believe they did resolve it afterwards. But there's a famous, or it's been uncovered. And I saw it recently because of like TikTok and shit, and Paul Reubens passing. Howard Stern doing Howard Stern should have just needling interviews with, I think it was Phil Hartman talking. He was like, I don't really want to, get too into it. So
yeah, but that's like kind of like the trope of Howard Stern, just
So
anything to be viral or the version of being viral back then.
Take it with a grain of salt, what I just said, but like that's like this summer, which that's why when it was going around, I think too, people are like, hopefully they resolved it in heaven, right? With Paul Reubens dying. Hopefully they're just up there and but
so that's what's gonna happen with Will Ferrell and Anna McKay.
Hey, John C. Reilly was just talking about doing a Step Brothers sequel on like some fucking like news show recently or whatever, which would suck.
He's still on good terms with Adam McKay.
And Will Ferrell.
One thing I do, just real quick, talking about Pee-wee and all the people that were involved with it and stuff, I love Miss Yvonne, who was like Pee-wee's love interest on the show. Well, not really. She was more like
the voice of Of Tommy
Sherry?
Pickles, right?
Yeah, well, and she's
E.G. Daily?
yeah, she's Charlie's mom on It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's
Oh.
different actress. E.G. Daly's Tommy Pickles.
Yeah, I'm talking about she's the Miss Yvonne. She in the stage show, and she was in Pee-wee's Playhouse. She had like big hair and
Oh,
stuff.
wait, that's Mac's mom.
No, not Mac's mom. Charlie's mom.
Charlie's mom. Sorry.
I didn't know whoever
That's
called
fu-
that
that's-
out though. The love interest from Big Ventures and the mom
that's
to
E.G.
Penguin.
Daly.
Right, that's E.G. Daly. Yes, you're right.
That's
I'm
E.G.
talking
Daly.
about the show. I'm talking about Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Well, I was gonna say the girl who plays that, the one to go to the dinosaur thing, and she has the boyfriend chasing
Yeah.
them. She plays the mom when he plays the dad of the Penguin in Batman Returns.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
she's
relive
the
the roles
waitress.
together.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that.
No,
show.
it's good. Good career though. I mean, like, and I do think like before we do wrap up fully, and like I said, this dedication to Paul Reubens, one of the guys that just got the fucking bad rap. I know because like there's a thing in his life that derailed his career.
Which is some
Yeah,
bullshit.
but it also
jerking
like
off in a place where people are allowed to
Supposed
jerk
to jerk off.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
It's like
saying.
a
It's not.
designated jerk off spot. It's horseshit.
It's not.
And it was a sting. It was like a fucking cops. They knew what they were doing. They
It's
busted a
not
bunch of
him
people.
doing. It's not him doing that in fucking an AMC theater.
Right.
Which would
Yeah,
be
no.
like, fuck that guy.
But the
He's
thing
not.
is, it's like he had the thing. The Pee-wee was a kids show by then, like so it was like it just
Okay.
didn't. I had the
but-
talking
kind of
Pee-wee
Blue's
doll,
Clues
and
guy.
then my dad immediately took the talking Pee-wee doll and took its hand and shoved it down its pants, and that's the way the talking Pee-wee doll stayed my whole life.
But where are the? That's a story. All right, let's end it on that.
Let's dive more into that, Brian.
Oh
Let's
my
dive into
God.
that, Brian.
So back to Buffy.
I have one right now.
I like their ears.
God damn.
Yeah, I like the vampire makeup in this. I like
No,
it.
that's
so good.
that. Honestly, I know your dad sucked. Pretty funny.
It's a funny joke.
Pretty funny.
Pretty funny. No,
Um,
yeah, it's just like it is what it is. Like it obviously like everybody's very reactionary, but on paper it sounds horrible.
Oh, it does
and
sound bad.
You
I
have a
remember
kid
thinking
show.
like, oh, look at this guy.
And
fucking
it was a
weirdo.
time when like it took a lot. It was easy, like a little news bite goes around. Paul Reubens arrested, and it takes a long time for A to find the real story, and then B, people still aren't that accepting of that shit. Like, yeah, sure, the four of us don't give a shit, but there's still a lot of puritanical motherfuckers out there that would
Yep.
still think it was fucked up, and they should. I mean, hell, Fred Willard got busted for it when he was like. I mean, only like a couple of years before he died. Like, he got busted for the same shit, like less than 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But that at a different time, it didn't affect his career the same way. Also, he wasn't doing a children's show at the time.
there's just a lot of context around it. I think that it's like the thing of there's a lot of ways
I just
his
feel
career
like
could have
it's
went and probably been
yeah.
more featured focused. Like he's probably eventually starring in one of Tim Burton like he's probably starring in a Tim Burton movie and not just being someone he
He
reluctantly
could have been.
put
He
in.
could have been Willy Wonka in Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate
Would have been
Factory.
great. Would have been a great revival of that.
But luckily we have Timothée Chalamet, so we're good.
Oh, it's gonna
Oh, I thought
be.
you were going to talk about Johnny Depp. That's who did the Tim Burton one. I mean,
No, I know, but I wanted
That's
to
you know
talk
what?
about the
That's
even
Gen
worse one
Z's
that's coming.
Willy Wonka.
Squash that, reverse it.
Now it.
when somebody say that Timothée Chalamet had charisma, scratch that, reverse it.
Reverse it.
He had one good SNL sketch, and that's all I know him from.
I liked him in Dune, but that's because Dune he's supposed to play a distant, weird prince boy who's like a
Dude, Dune
freak, like,
too.
you know.
Looks so good.
It's gonna get delayed though.
But yeah, it's an interesting career retrospective, is what I'll like.
No,
add to
yeah.
that. Like
it's
he's someone who
it's-
should have more to me.
But I feel like he has like such a singular and genre defining voice. It's almost like when we were like looking back at Freddy Got Fingered or stuff like that type of comedy and that type of distinctive voice really shapes what comedy will become later. Like all those people that grew up watching Pee-wee, all those people that admired him are now like creating amazing comedy now. So it's very hard to just point to like, oh, what
Pee-wee
could
is
have
such
been.
a singular and
Yes.
focused creation, like,
What
and
I'll
like such a well crafted character
Yeah.
piece, and then like executed very well and grew and evolved in interesting ways.
Yes.
It really is a model for
he
like
could have
performers, like a single performer to
he
like
could have
define themselves, you know.
he
Yes.
could have be the Pee-wee, and this is a bad way, and it didn't, which is thankful. It could have became what like the Ernest movies became,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
thank
know, and
goodness.
it
Yeah.
didn't.
And it's
But
very
bring
hard to just look at all the ripples that he created. So like, yeah, that's why you see all those like Conan and all those like big names now that are like, oh my God, he was such an important comedy icon. And then people don't understand like, oh, he was just Pee-wee. No, that's like
But
you're
Pee-wee
saturated.
itself is such a comedy
Yes.
creation of like what it like
The
the
balls
way
it took.
he used Pee-wee's innocence to disarm, but then he also was like subversive. You know what I mean? He had a lot. There's just a lot more going on. I don't think like I said, I only ever watched Playhouse, and I don't think even as recently as till after his death and rewatching, realized how interesting of a
Yeah.
performance piece Pee-wee
Yes.
is.
Yeah, I want to go revisit it all. Bring it to full circle though.
That HBO special that I was talking about is on YouTube. Check it out.
Thanks.
It's easy to find.
Bring it. Yes, we will. Bring it to full circle. Um, Paul Reubens does reprise his Buffy character in What We Do in the Shadows during I believe,
Yes.
season 2 when they have all the other vampires show up, like Wesley Snipes shows up on Zune, fucking Tilda Swinton shows up, but
Yes.
Paul Reubens shows up as what's his name, Artemis,
Emma,
Amlin,
Emily?
and
Amlin?
it's just it's a
Lefty.
knowing he does that during his battle with cancer and its revival. It's a fucking breath of fresh air, and it is a wink. It's a nod to people that are like movie fans and shit.
That's just
So,
yeah. I mean, as a fan of that show and a fan of vampire movies, that's just a really fun scene. Like, there's just vampires from like so many like famous movies and stuff. It's just a really that's a great moment.
That series is amazing. I'm
So-
pumped for the next season.
oh yeah, I gotta watch the past few episodes. So, having said that, thinking about the time, I just want to go around the horn, and if anyone wants to add anything, add it. If not, we'll move right on and we'll give our goodbyes.
Yeah.
TJ, would you like to add something to the conversation of Buffy and Paul Reubens as a whole?
Oh, I mean, other than that was based on Mr. Rogers for Pee-wee. No, I mean, this guy showed up in a lot of films that I love and has always been above anything I ever expected with him. I wish he'd been still around and always miss him. And I got Buffy.
Great.
If I want to watch him, yep.
Yusuf, got anything you'd like to add to the overall?
No, it's a fun, dumb movie. Really has holdover with nostalgia, and well, I'm gonna miss Paul for sure. Like that's gonna be one of those like Robin Williams types that
Sure.
every now and again you think about like I'm not gonna get any new content out of him.
No.
Yeah.
No, I won't even go down that hole because it's just another rant, but that's a great point. Brian, anything to add to our conversation today and that?
No, I mean, yeah, this is like an old favorite of mine. Like I said, I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't get my DVD signed for nothing. I
That's
grew up
cool.
with
It's a
this
cool
one. I watched
piece.
it on
I'd
cable
get
a
mine signed
lot.
too.
Yeah, I don't regret getting it signed. Like I
No,
said, I still
fuck
enjoy
that.
the movie. I didn't, you know, I mean, it's fine. I did want to shout out a quick more cameos. I noted Tom Jane is in
Oh
this
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
He's
I
Luke
saw him.
Perry's buddy who works at the
saw him.
mechanic shop.
Okay,
Wait,
wait.
that's Thomas Jane?
Wait.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
Tom Jane. Yeah,
that's what I wanted to ask. So
The
I had
Punisher?
the
He looks
DVD
kind of
up,
like Luke
and I
Perry
saw
with a
Tom
beard.
Jane, and I thought, well, that can't be Thomas Jane.
Yeah, it's him.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like that.
And
Keep
then
going.
this is since this is technically a horror show and we're talking horror, and I know Joe is like me, he loves his Freddy movies. Right when the vampires are attacking the prom, there's a kid who runs in who's like the first one who got attacked, and he like slams the doors behind him, and he's like, "Oh, they bit me or whatever." That is, his name is Ricky Dean Logan, but he's the deaf kid from Freddy's Dead who gets the ear thing like grows into his head.
Yep, that is very familiar.
There are
Yeah,
vampires out there,
there was just
man.
something about his voice and his energy. I was like, I
Believe it.
know that guy from something. I looked him up, and I was like, of course, this movie's just packed with people
Fucking
like who have been in other horror
hitting
shows.
hitting the fucking glass, seeing the naked.
Yeah,
amazing, amazing.
Oh,
one of my
man.
favorite Freddy deaths in the later ones too, which is
That's good.
Thank you, Brian. That is a good pull there. Yeah, and I'll just add that it's a fun movie.
I think it's
the
a real time capsule. It very much feels like 1992.
The world needs
Yeah.
like breezy, light horror adjacent comedies and like what I would call quote unquote Halloween movies that everyone could enjoy, but you feel a little spooky bit to it. That's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I think it's cool, and I honestly think it's very cool that like both versions of Buffy exist, and they're different enough to obviously the Buffy show got to go on longer and have a deeper story, but it was already its own thing. It felt different from the very beginning. I think that's cool that it was already its own thing.
I feel like Joe, you said this. I feel like you said this. It's like having Batman Returns and then having Schumacher's Batman's take over. Where it's supposed to play off of that.
That's a TJ original. Yeah,
I mean that's literally how it is. It's having Schumacher just kind of add on. Do his own thing.
What I'll add to this too is with the different versions of it is like I think like my wife, she would enjoy maybe the movie, right? I had the Buffy show on, and before she went, not for me, not good. It's a little more gnarly. They kind of ramped it up, and it's this and that, and it's the weed. So the two versions exist. It
was one of the first big serialized shows that like had the continuing storyline that you like kind of went season to season, right?
It's the teen version of the X-Files, essentially.
Sure.
Of its time. So, but no, I'm glad we covered it. I mean, as always, I'm just happy the four of us could get on here and do this again. That's what's more important.
It's real chemistry here.
So, as Flyover normally does, we just bonded and got an episode out of someone dying, because that used to happen a lot on our main show.
And you were the kiss of death, Joe.
Oh my God, yeah. Every time for the first year, every time I had an episode, it was like, well, we got to change plans.
Fucking Black Widow.
Jeez.
All right. But, I know we don't have anything anyone wants to plug now or share anything. I know we're all still on our Twitters.
Nobody's listening right now, but if you are, last season of Unprecedented dropping, I'm finishing that podcast to 4 presidents left, the Mount Rushmore of presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, and Roosevelt left.
Yeah. So do that. You can find...
No, it's the last. Sorry, no.
Yes,
oh my God.
You can find TJ Dex on the Twitters, still having better takes than ever. That's a fluffy boy you got there.
That is quite a fluffy boy.
And you got Brian and me doing Fear every other week, staying strong, and we'll have some new episodes out for you.
FDR
all right,
is the last
FDR, stay frightful, everyone. Bye. Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.